Jack authorizes a hit. Something's bugging Teal'c, and we finally meet the Tok'ra tonight on Chevron Locked.
Chevron Lock, a Stargate-based podcast. We are on episode 11 this evening, and we are going to be looking at... Whoa, I should probably introduce Kevin, huh?
Hi.
Hey.
I'm
sorry.
Kevin.
I was about to steamroll right into this son of a bitch, dude. I'm like so pumped to talk about the Tok'ra, then I was just fucking... Yeah, I was gone there for a second.
All right, we're going to do this whole episode backwards then. Let's talk about Tok'ra Part 2 first. Go.
That would be interesting. That would be as... Kevin tried to make a joke last night about the fact that he's going to be singing in one of these episodes, and I called his bluff.
We're going to do a musical episode.
Yeah, I said, fuck it. Like, I'll do a musical episode. So, Kevin's writing the music right now.
Yeah,
so,
spoiler alert, I can't sing. I am not musically inclined at all. It's going to be phenomenal.
Oh, it's going to be our highest rated downloaded show.
Yeah, people are going to be making fun of us for years to come.
I'm okay with that, dude.
Oh, I'm in.
I sleep well. I do things because they make me laugh. You know,
that's most of the reason I speak. Ask my wife.
Yeah,
she hates it.
Yeah. I think it's why I do what I do. Like when I started out bartending, it's just because I enjoy making myself laugh, and if I could fucking make somebody else laugh when they're standing there, so be it. But I get a lot of my regulars that look at me like I'm a fucking idiot, but they all love me.
Yeah. All my coworkers know. They know I'm an idiot.
Yeah. This is what you get, people. That's it. So tonight, more importantly, we're looking at Secrets, Bane, and the Tok'ra, part 1 and 2. This is episodes 31, 32, and 33/34 of season 2 of the show of Stargate. So, not a whole lot to talk about pre-show here. Kevin and I were just commenting about some people that had passed. We talked about Bill Paxton dying last week, and this episode's a little weird because we're actually recording it a week before it goes live because I'm actually going to be out of town for a bachelor party in Nashville. Wapner, Judge Wapner had passed away yesterday. I didn't mean to laugh there. It was just, he was such like growing up, Wapner was everywhere, man.
He was an icon.
He was like I don't know, he wasn't the first television icon, but he was the first like reality show icon, I guess.
Sure.
And Kevin and I were talking about just like the only times I remember watching The Judge was at my grandmother's house. Like she was like just always had Wapner on. I don't know if that show was on like 9 hours a day or something, but I just remember it being on all the time. So
yep, I had the same experience.
Yeah, just it has nothing to do with television or movies or sci-fi. It definitely has nothing to do with Stargate, but just if you're an 80s child and you don't know who Judge Wapner was, or you weren't forced to sit down with some family members, they watched Wapner, then I don't know what to tell you.
Back under the rock with you. Go.
Yeah. That was part of growing up in the 80s right there, was watching Wapner. So let's dig right into this, man. Let's go right to Secrets.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's your cue.
So, in Secrets, O'Neill and Carter get participation awards in Washington. While they're doing that, Teal'c and Jackson head back to Abydos to break Kasuf's heart that Sha're is still among the missing. They get there, and she's pregnant and there for some reason, and they're trying to figure out what that means. Meanwhile, Jack basically becomes complicit in a murder to cover up the Stargate program when he's threatened by a reporter, and then that reporter gets run over by someone that we never really chase down.
Just the way you said that he becomes complacent.
Yeah, he's fine. He's the one that basically orchestrated that, whether he meant it or not. He went and he was like, hey, this dude's digging around. They were like, hey, talk to him, figure it out. Jack, quote unquote, sets up a meeting by being conspicuous in public. That dude shows up and then gets run down. I think there's no two ways about this. Jack had this man murdered, whether he knows it or not.
Okay, listen. I wouldn't say that Jack had the man murdered.
I'm not
all
saying
right?
he sat down and said, I want him gone, but I'm saying if he had taken 30 seconds to think about what was happening, this is the only way this was going to ever go down, and this man's death is on his shoulders.
Okay, I want to defend Jack here, okay? But I agree, Jack's not that naive,
He's a military man. He could have thought this through a little bit further. Rules of engagement, my friend.
Hey, listen, he was just following orders, though. Really. Like, that death is on Hammond.
You think that removes any responsibility from him? Oh, I was just following orders. You can reject a bullshit order.
Listen, he just thought maybe they were going to get like tea and crumpets.
We're gonna kidnap this man and make him our best friend. You're right.
Yeah.
I completely misread it.
We're gonna be BFFs, motherfucker. Like maybe that's how that went down. We don't know. We don't know what Jack was thinking. But man, what a brutal hit by that car too.
Oh yeah.
Like whoever was driving. And do we ever? I don't like to spoil things for myself, but do we ever fucking find out who was driving that car?
No, I don't think it ever gets brought up again. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But because I think this was just boom, gone, dead.
Because Hammond does say at the end of the episode, hey, Jack, you do know that was just an accident, right? But we, like Jack, we know there was something else to that.
Wink.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if that ever gets talked about again, or if that guy, that poor bastard, just left like maybe the guy was married. He had like fucking 11 kids. We don't know.
Yeah.
Just it's all gone. But I did. So we got. Go ahead and finish recapping. Sorry.
No, that's pretty much
that was
recap.
Okay.
At the end, they wind up kidnapping the Charay's kid and telling her Harrower took him, so that Apophis will think that Harrower has taken him, and it just becomes a mess. Like, it was so convoluted the way that they did that.
It was. So I definitely enjoyed the, for lack of better terms, the Earth story versus the Abydos story. Even though the Abydos story does actually propel our overall story forward a little bit more.
Yeah.
You're right, man. There was so much it seemed like there was so much just fucking nonsense going on.
You'd think there'd be some way for the Goa'uld to tell who is in the armor, but there doesn't seem to be any sort of differentiation between them. So anyone can put on that armor and pretend to be anyone else. We saw this back in Family when Jack dressed up like a Goa'uld and basically just walked through the town. We see that in this where Teal'c pretends to be I don't know whether he was the Prime or just some guy working for Harrower, but everybody falls for it. There you go. I'm who I claim to be, and you're not going to question it.
So which begs the question: are those suits just one size fits all?
Yes, yeah, or maybe
so.
They're all the same size. I don't know. I've never measured Teal'c.
If O'Neill is the size of Teal'c, then I haven't been watching that show correctly. Like my aspect ratio is way off on my fucking TV.
It's not the size of the dog in the fight; it's the size of the fight in the dog.
Yeah, that's what I tell my dog every time we go to the fucking dog park, but he gets his ass kicked all the time. In all fairness, he starts it, but he gets his ass kicked all the time.
Yeah.
But no, I couldn't agree with you more. I thought that, okay, so bringing Sharai back into the mix, right?
Yep.
I was okay with that because we hadn't seen her in a while. I thought it was a good point in the season to reintroduce her character a little bit more. I did think it was kind of an interesting take that she's knocked up so that Apophis could basically take over another body, once that body is matured or whatnot.
Well, she was actually pregnant in real life. This was not...
Oh, that's how they kind of wrote it all together?
This was actually Michael Shanks' first kid, Tatiana, with that actress. I forget her name. But yeah, she was actually pregnant with Daniel Jackson's kid.
Oh, that's really interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they had one kid together, Tatiana, and then I don't even think they ever married. But he later went on to someone else.
Wow. Interesting. Very interesting side note there. The biggest part of this episode that bothered me, and it's so petty and it's so stupid, but it was just such a fucking strain on my ears, was during the birthing scene, if you will, and she's screaming for Daniel, but it's just the way with her accent, with the Abydos accent, and what it comes off Daniela.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, somebody's finally giving him the name that bitch deserves half the time. You know?
Yeah. Yep.
And poor Teal'c. So the other part of that scene, Teal'c comes running back and is like, Daniel, we got to go, dude. Like, this shit's getting real. Like, they're here. They're going to kill us. We got to go. And Daniel's like, I'm not going, man. I'm not leaving her. And Teal'c's like, fine. Like, you're making me stay now. And he's like, I'll hold him off for as long as I can. I'm like, dude, you just signed Teal'c's death wish.
Yep.
You know, like.
Yeah, that's on his shoulders. This is an episode about killing people.
Yeah, it really is. And for once, Daniel doesn't die.
Which was shocking to me.
Oh, man, this episode was ripe for a Daniel death.
Yeah.
But going back to the Earth side of the storyline, because this was a very, I appreciated, and I liked the way that they ran two narratives there.
Yeah.
You know? But the Earth story, I liked how the press is finally starting to become a thing in terms of, you know, a possible leak. We don't know where the leak came from that got the reporter interested in it. We don't know if it came from SGC or from the senator, but we now know that this guy, and as far as we know, he's the only one so far that had knowledge of the Stargate. He didn't know what it was, but I loved how, like, I think that would be a thing. Like, that would be a problem that they would have to deal with.
No doubt.
Especially, go ahead.
You got so many civilians working with them on this project. You've got so many, like, points where this could be leaking. You know, people in the senator's office, contractors working for the Air Force that have clearance. That I just think you're right. I think this would leak.
It absolutely would, and it would leak more so, I think, in today's world with the amount of internet and social, you know, websites and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I think that information leaks constantly.
Oh,
you know, so I really like that aspect of this show. That happened, and we get introduction to Jacob Carter, Sam's father,
Sam's dad. Who, when I was looking through his IMDb page, the guy looks like such an authority figure that it's no shock to me that his roles on IMDb through history read like synonyms for the word authority. If you look through every single role he's ever played starts with agent, judge, colonel, major, detective, lieutenant, doctor, district attorney, sergeant. Like, it's boom, boom, boom. He's hitting everything you could ever imagine from someone who looks like that.
Well, I mean, yeah, and you're right. Look at him. Like, it's impressive. Like, he just looks, you nailed it perfectly. He looks very authoritarian.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, it's a great explanation for why Carter turned out the way she did. And I know you don't like her as much as I do, but I think she's a fantastic character who we now know has daddy issues. Yes,
major ones. And not to her fault, though.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, she strives because of it, you know?
Yeah, like, and she, Carter even mentioned it in the show, or in that episode. She was like, I was wondering when you were going to make this about you, when, so for anybody that hasn't seen it, Carter's dad's trying to, had gotten her into NASA, which was something we find out, and clearly we already kind of knew, is that was a lifelong dream of hers, to be an astronaut. So he gets her this dream position, to which she turns down, and we know why, because what she's doing is far better than being an astronaut. But she mentions it. She was like, I was wondering why, or I was wondering how long it would take you to make this about you, because he gets all fucking butthurt when she turns it down. And he was being a dick. Like, that whole episode, I'm like, damn, Sam's dad's a fucking dick.
Yeah. Yep.
But then we do find out that he's battling cancer, and he says, "Oh, it's not something you're going to have to worry about, for a while." But he then keeps reminding her that he has cancer.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
So, yeah, real good guy. He turns into a good guy, though. Spoiler alert.
We'll get there.
I really like the whole adding the reporter into it.
Yeah, that was actually one of my favorite scenes in this was when Jack was talking to the reporter and he explains to him that it's O'Neill with 2 L's.
Yes.
Which is a reference to the fact that they've changed so much from the movie to this show. Not only the spelling of O'Neill by adding an extra L, but also the way that they spell Charest, and the way that they changed O'Neill's wife from Sarah with an H to Sarah without an H, and changed his son from Tyler to Charlie, just trying to distance themselves, so it's a very tongue-in-cheek reference to that.
No, I agree, and it was a very, very small little snippet. But even better is when the reporter pays it off.
Yeah,
or when the reporter throws it back at him. When right before the reporter becomes a bug on a windshield, when he turns around to Jack and he's like, "So that's 2 L's, right?" And then fucking keeps walking.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right. The banter between those two, especially when they're outside at the steps of the Air Force building, they had a little bit of banter when the reporter first approaches them in the bar, but the banter between the two of them outside at the steps was just great. It was very, very good writing. But it almost felt like was there. I'm going to look this up really quick. Secrets. No, it was one writer. Because it definitely felt like 2 writers there.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it was a little disjointed, but not bad. This was what?
Yeah.
Terry Curtis Fox?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Just between the 2 different narratives, it just felt like a different writer on each side. But going back now to Abydos, what I did like was that we did kind of basically see that Charest may have a pretty decent amount of control going right now, because she does make eye contact with Teal'c and Daniel as they're hiding when Apophis comes through the Stargate.
And she didn't rat him out.
She did not write them out at all. So I think that shows us that she has some control. Clearly not all control, but she does have some control over her gold.
Yeah.
So I just, that was probably the best part of that particular side of the episode for me,
Yep.
But overall, it was a good episode, I guess. I mean, I don't know. It's one of those episodes I don't have a whole lot bad to say, but I don't have a whole lot good to say either.
Well, it was good that it introduced Sam's dad. It was good that it introduced a little bit of intrigue surrounding the secrets of the Stargate, but I don't think it was a really solid episode. I don't think it had a lot of meat to it. I think it was just a little confusing. I mean, this was, I think, the second episode we get by Terry Curtis Fox. The other one being Prisoners, which was another episode.
Okay. So that, when you were just talking, what I was going to say was that the episode felt really rushed, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And then as soon as you said he wrote Prisoners, because Prisoners seemed very rushed too.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is, I don't know, just needs maybe a second rewrite, or to be split into 2 episodes or something. I think they're not bad ideas.
I think you're 100% right. I think this could have been 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like even if they would have taken out, I don't know what you take out though. Like, well, what we've seen so far, previous episodes wise, maybe you take Gamekeeper out to make this 2 parts, 2 different episodes. I don't know. But I agree with you 100% that this felt like it should have been 2 episodes.
Yeah.
So, I think you're right though. We were introduced into Sam's father, and it was good to see Charest again. Because every now and then I feel like we get these spacing between episodes, and like Charest hasn't been talked about even. Like Daniel hasn't even mentioned her in briefing.
No.
really.
Nope.
So it's always nice when they re-hit these points, especially for she's a fairly major character, especially within Daniel's life. Clearly within Daniel's life, she's a major character. So thought it was nice that they brought that back up. But
Yep.
all said and done, it is what it is. So let's talk Bane.
Bane. So the gang is off-world, and they are attacked by giant insects while surrounded by what looks like the biggest pigeon shits they've ever seen. Teal'c gets stung on the back by a giant bug that implants him with a virus. He comes back and just starts freaking the fuck out. Mayborn decides he's going to take him back to his lair and dissect him, and he breaks free, befriends a little girl with a super soaker, cocoons himself, and almost dies before Sam and the gang show up and are able to reverse the whole process.
Yeah. So, what did you think, though?
I love every episode with Mayborn in it.
Okay.
I love the way that this episode looked when they were on the planet, but I just don't think that this is a great episode.
No, I've got to say, I do agree with you. The visuals on the planet were fantastic, but the visuals of the bugs, like, they've done so much better visually.
Yeah, I mean, this was...
The bugs,
CGI wasn't great.
No, and you know what really bothered me was the way the bugs were flying. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but it just was a very unnatural flight, and it looked very...
It was weird.
It just looked incredibly fake. So, I agree. It's not that it was necessarily a bad episode, but fuck, I just don't give a shit. Like,
No.
I didn't never feel like... One, it's hard to make like a major character in a show like this be in peril, or make me feel like that character is possibly in peril. Like that's a hard enough task to do. Because as a viewer, we know they're not going to kill Teal'c off right now.
No, exactly.
Like,
we're not at a season finale. We're not in any high stakes. Their contract is not up.
Yeah, this ain't Game of Thrones.
Yep.
Like, we know these characters are going to be fine, right?
Yep.
And that's okay. But I think that there are predicaments that you could put them in that cause more peril, and this just wasn't it for me.
Yep. I mean, this was the other episode I was talking about with Jack getting shocked. He made another reference to electroshock therapy in this episode.
Yes, you're right. When they were talking about, he was talking to Carter and the doctor.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
I'm telling you, he was shocked a lot as a child.
Or maybe just once really, really bad.
Hey, whatever. That's all it takes sometimes.
Good old fork in the light socket, you know?
I mean, the best thing about this episode, it made me nostalgic for super soakers. I did go on Amazon and almost bought one.
Ooh.
They got weird, though. I can't see it.
Yeah. So, the little girl, Allie, okay, one, she looked eerily familiar to the bomb.
Cassandra?
Cassandra, yeah. Was that just me?
You know what? I think all girls that age look about the same.
Okay, yeah. Because she looked a lot like that. Because then I looked at her and I'm like, oh my God, she looks like the girl from fucking The Crow. And then I'm like, oh shit, she looks like the Cassandra girl. Because she was in The Crow.
Yep.
But other than that, there was a neat little scene when Teal'c's losing his shit and he's walking down the street and he encounters the most non-threatening gang I've ever fucking seen on television.
Yep. I think their leader was Rufio, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh my God. You shut the hell up about that. You keep poking the bear, motherfucker.
Hey, listen, we'll talk about that later.
We will. We absolutely will. At some point, I want to do. So for our viewers that don't know, Kevin is a co-host for another podcast. And their latest episode, there's a brief talk about the Hook movie from the early 90s. And I was talking to Kevin here that at one point during that conversation, I wanted to buy a plane ticket to go fly to him to punch him in the throat because of the nasty things he was trying to say about Hook. And I felt like Hook needed to be defended. So we just went on a nice little 15-minute rampage about Hook. and Rufio, because apparently they're trying to reboot that shit. But
So after that glowing review, check it out, Nerdy Things Podcast on iTunes.
definitely worth a listen, especially to that episode. So
Episode 3, which is going to come out Thursday, is going to be about time travel. At least, maybe it's already out. I'm not really sure. I don't know how time travel works.
dude, this is kind of time travel. You realize that? Like what we're doing right now.
Oh, that's right. We're recording in the future, so episode 3 is already out.
Yeah. That is so, that's a very good timing. I wish we could have actually worked that out on purpose, but we didn't.
Nope, we're too dumb for that.
We are. We absolutely are, brother.
All right.
But at least one of us is smarter than the other by saying Hook was a good movie. Anyway,
Yeah, there you go.
so, there was a great little interaction between Tilk and the fucking softest gang ever in Colorado, which who knew Colorado had a gang problem?
Nope.
But other than that, they're just, I mean, I don't know. Tilk, I guess, the acting was good. I there was nothing really bad about that. Carter, I liked Carter in the episode, which, that always speaks volumes for me at least.
Yeah. The little girl has a candy bar, and Teal'c wants more, and she says, "What's in it for me?" And he says, "Peanuts and caramel." He hasn't even birthed forth his demonic horde of bugs, and he's already given dad joke answers.
Yeah, yeah. Which I think, is Tilk still in her debt, or did the Super Soaker pay off the debt?
Nope, we're done. That's
Okay.
he paid it off with the Super Soaker and then shooting Daniel with it.
Okay, that was kind of a cute little scene, I guess.
Yeah, that I liked. That I
and then
watched that.
he says something, because they were talking about, well, we should have brought another one to play with her and stuff, and he says something about how else would she defend herself, and just the way he brings his sunglasses down on his head and starts running. I just thought that was a cool.
Yeah,
little...
we shouldn't have loaded it.
Yeah, we shouldn't have loaded it. Yeah, how else is she going to defend herself? Yeah, that was a cool little part. Okay, but other than that, just the visuals just weren't there for me on this particular episode.
No, it was
the
very
majority
Earth-centric.
of this, yeah, and that's what I was going to say. A majority of the episode does take place in Colorado, so it's a lot of external shots and things like that. So whatever, not a horrible episode, but just didn't really do shit.
Yep.
This prime example, they could have gotten rid of Bane and made Secrets 2 separate episodes. There we go.
They're done.
Yeah, that would have been way better for me, I think, because Secrets, you have 2 cohesive stories that you could tell, and Bane, you don't really tell shit.
Yeah, I mean, you're right.
So.
Secrets, both of which could have been explored a little bit more.
Yeah, 100% agree with you, buddy. So moving on, let's get to it, buddy.
All right. So Tok'ra, the one you've been looking forward to.
Yeah.
All right. So I haven't written anything down, but let's see if I can wing this.
Okay.
So Sam has a dream where she knows where the Tok'ra are. So the gang goes on an expedition. They show up. They're met at the door and then taken prisoner for some reason. And they decide that they're not going to let the SG team go until they decide to move house, which is going to be at some nebulous point in the future. They eventually get a second team that shows up to let Sam know that her dad is dying of that cancer that he wasn't worried about. And so they won't let Sam go unless Jack goes with her, and there's this whole thing. Oh, that's right. They promise to bring back the host. So they go and convince Sam's dad to come and get a worm in his gut, and it will heal him, they're pretty sure.
That worm has a name, by the way. So.
That worm has a name, and that name escapes me at the moment.
Selmac.
Selmac, yes. I wanted to call it Jolinar, but I know that's the one that was in Sam.
Correct.
All right. So I think that's the salient points of this episode. There's a traitor in their midst. Jack figures it out not once but twice, and really saves their asses. So they decide they're going to ally with us after all, because maybe we can give them hosts that are dying of other things that they can fix.
Correct.
Boom.
Kind of. The way you just phrased that, does that sound like Cocoon?
Little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
It was very Cocoon-esque.
Yeah, it's a very similar thing. I mean, I do like that sort of aspect of joining with the Tok'ra and the true symbiosis of it. Like we wouldn't live without them, they wouldn't live without us. I think that's a fantastic way to approach this, and look at them as the good guys for the Goa'uld rather than the bad Goa'uld that just take.
Yep. So there was so much in these 2 episodes, and this is a 2-part episode.
Yeah, 1 and 2
for the listeners. There was so much great shit, right? The first thing I would like to say is that the conversations. So Kevin talked about how Sam gets the idea because her father's dying that he could possibly be a good host for Selmak. There's 2 separate scenes where conversations happen between Selmak and its host, because again we're given the idea again that the Tok'ra in and of themselves don't have a gender, right? They just take on the gender of the host,
right?
But there's 2 great scenes between Selmak and Selmak's host and Sam's father Jacob that I just loved. Very comedic, very Jacob at one point is looking at Selmak and says, "Man, you're in rough shape," and she responds to something like, "You're no vision of perfection yourself." Like just very, very good banter between Jacob and Selmak.
Yeah, put him in his place. He was an ass this episode. He talks about how he moved to DC to be closer to her, and then just pushes Sam away. What a dick move!
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that plays into the second conversation they have, is that Selmak asks him, "Are you a good man?"
Yeah.
Like she basically only has 1 question for him. She has 2. How do you feel about that Goa'uld?
Yep.
And are you a good man?
Well, I haven't met one before today. Ooh,
sick burn.
Yeah, no,
sick burn.
But how do you answer the good man question, really?
I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, how would I answer it, or how would Jacob answer it?
How does anyone answer that? I mean, how do you know? If you say yes, the answer is probably no.
Yeah. And then what standard are you holding me to?
Yeah.
Like, I'm a good man based on, like, the fucking current population, I guess. Like, I've never killed anybody.
Yeah.
But, in Tok'ra standards, I'm probably not a good man. Like, I don't know. Like,
and that's the other side of it. If you answer no, you're probably right as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, you definitely raise a good point there. But the second big thing I really liked about it, and it was hammered in as hard as they could hammer it in, was that they don't take kindly to being referred to as Goa'uld.
No, not at all.
And that they understand, that yes, we share the same things in terms of we take host, but theirs is a very symbiotic relationship between host and Goa'uld.
Yeah,
Tok'ra. Like what?
That's one of the points that stuck with me on this. That's like saying I don't like being called human because I'm a Democrat.
Yeah.
It really, they're not the same thing. They don't equate. You can be against Ra and your species is still Goa'uld.
Correct. But I liked the fact that they wanted to so for SG-1, prime example, and I'm sure they encounter this all the time, SG-1 just sees the glowing eyes and the voice, and that's Goa'uld.
Yep.
And they only have one reference for that. They only have, like, Apophis. There's only one point of reference for what a Goa'uld is for them until they met Jolinar, which they still don't, at the time, they still didn't really know if Jolinar was on the real,
No, until this episode, the Tok'ra were still essentially a myth.
Correct. And Teal'c does a great job of talking about that he even says, that they have been myths, and even more so, and shit, I'm going to not remember her name, who was like the chief lady of the Tok'ra.
I could not tell you. I don't have it in my notes.
But when they give her name, it starts with an S too, son of a biscuit. That's not it, by the way.
Was it? No. You're talking the one that was talking to them the whole time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Yusef.
Yusef. Totally doesn't start with an S, but there's an S there, so I'm good.
Hey, I wasn't going to point it out.
Hey, that's okay. You can call me out on shit like that. But anyway, Teal'c even says, in Legend, she's the most feared Tok'ra. amongst all of them, So I liked that we kind of got this hint that it could possibly be something that the Goa'uld fear the Tok'ra being,
Yeah.
and that Teal'c automatically has a shit ton of respect for them, based on just him growing up and him probably hearing these stories of these rebellions and hearing them probably through Braytak is how I'm guessing he's heard, because if he heard them through Goa'uld, the stories would be turned into something completely different. I doubt that the Goa'uld are referring to these people as resistance fighters,
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think it had to be Braytak, even though Braytak isn't that much older than Teal'c.
He's like a couple hundred years old.
Braytak is 136 years old. Teal'c is 100 years old. So, grand scheme of things, not that much older.
Another reason I keep you on the show here, buddy. I love that about you. I love that you had those answers for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, even so, that's kind of where I think he's hearing those stories.
Oh yeah,
from.
definitely. He's definitely the leader of that cabal to go against them.
Yeah, the Jaffa that are still following Goa'uld, they're not talking about how cool the Tok'ra are, at all. So, and then from a visual standpoint, that the way they describe the caves, so they have this technology that when they go to a planet, they can just create underground caves.
Oh, that was spectacular. Those were
the
beautiful.
Visual on that, it was so good, dude. It was so good.
Even just the static caves themselves were amazing, but watching them both grow, and then when they were leaving the planet, watching them shrink back down, I was in love with this episode visually.
Yep. I agree with you 100% there. I totally forgot about the idea that they showed them growing, because because they use the rings to teleport down to the caves. When you first get there, I'm like, wow, that is a great set piece. And then you get the payoff that, and it was, I liked the way that they paid that off, that they were going to the High Council.
Yeah.
And Yusuf mentions, we build the caves as we need them, and she's like, for instance, we now need a High Council room, so we're going to build that right now.
There you go. And you just kind of watch it
turn
branch
the corner
out.
and it's there. Yeah, so cool, dude. So cool. What else in that episode? Man, there's just so much.
Yeah, I mean, the Kordesh's death when the caves are sort of crawling in on themselves.
Yeah,
that was awesome to watch and just terrifying to think about. He kind of just threw himself at it.
Very similar to that prisoner in Prisoners, where he's standing on the event horizon. Just to
sort of a slow, inevitable death. Reminded me of the guy in front of the steamroller in Austin Powers.
Oh yeah, or Deadpool on the Zamboni.
Oh yeah,
when he's gonna go run that guy down. You're absolutely right. And side note, Family Guy did a great spoof episode where it had a part of Stand By Me, and they do the same thing where the train's coming, but they make it out to be like a 30-second little piece.
Oh God.
Yeah, very, very Austin Powers, but I thought that was a great thing, and you could tell that the guy was remorseful, for what his Goa'uld, because his was definitely Goa'uld at that point,
Yeah, but here's the thing: this is another problem that could have been solved with a Post-it note. Just say that he is no longer in control, and that he is the host and not the Goa'uld, and that the Goa'uld is somewhere else, and it solves everything. He doesn't have to die. They have a host for Selmak or for someone else in the future when something goes wrong. And, they can catch the Goa'uld because he knows where it is now. But no, he's going to be like, I'm not the same guy, and then die.
But to me, it was a guilt thing. Like, he had felt so guilty. Now, clearly he wasn't in control at that point, but to me it was just that he couldn't live with the guilt for what he had done.
That's fine. If you're going to kill yourself, you know what? Fine. Guilty, perfect. Tell them where it is now. He's right there. Ah!
What if he doesn't know, though? I guess he would know, though, because he would retain some of that information.
Yep.
We're going to have to create some loophole catch here, buddy. I don't know
what?
what that is yet.
We're
going to work on that off cast.
It was a post-hypnotic suggestion by the Goa'uld before it left his body. He didn't have a choice. Done.
Yeah. But if it was post-hypnotic, maybe he would have suggested, like, I'm jumping into this person, but I'm actually jumping into this person, you know?
He couldn't trust himself. He had to kill himself.
It's possible, yeah. Either way, fantastic death.
Yep.
Great death. Great visuals. And more so, we got a huge jump in story here.
Yeah.
Like, an absolute game changer in terms of, like, this is right up there with Thor for me in terms of, like, what this now does for the show. Like,
what a huge ally for us now, yeah.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. One, this is our first true ally, I think. Like, somebody that can actually help us in a defeat of the Goa'uld.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Somebody with the numbers, or not the numbers, but with the capabilities. The other one being the Asgard, which we are not allied with.
No.
We're still too young. But I was glad to, the other kind of cool little scene was, she was impressed that she asked where the DHD was, and Jack's like, we built our own, and
yes,
she was kind of impressed with our ability to do that. So,
oh well, I want to see it. Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of the that's a different way to approach it type of mentality. She's impressed by the ingenuity.
Yep. So overall, I mean, just what a fantastic 2 episodes there.
Yep.
It really was. Probably, so far, definitely in my top 5.
Yeah.
For what we've seen so far.
I mean, the only other thing I have in my notes is I still can't understand why they thought keeping the SG teams was a good idea. I mean, we get proof that it doesn't matter right in the episode when the second team shows up to let them know that Carter's dad isn't doing well. Earth has the address for where they are. It's not just the SG team that they're holding. So what is the worst that happens at that point? It's not like there's anything there that nobody knows about. Send them back home or move. It's your call.
But that was brought up. I think Daniel had said something, and the Tok'ra responded with, well, you guys already, like, if you dial this address, you know where we are. We can't let you go until we know we're somewhere different and safe.
Right, but the rest of the people on Earth know this address as well. If the Goa'uld attack Earth and get it out of them, it doesn't matter if they keep the SG team or not. Earth has that address and is sending more people through.
Correct, but at that point, the Tok'ra wouldn't be there anyway.
Maybe, but they were planning on staying until they felt like they weren't safe. They were not planning on leaving when they left. They only left because the Goa'uld showed up because they were ratted out by Hecamechalon there. I forget his name.
Yeah, the douchebag.
I closed my notebook. I'm done.
Dude, no. I think you named him better than what his name probably was. No. I'm not 100% sure there. I'm actually pulling that up right now. Kordesh. You're, Kordesh. But yeah, Winston Reckerett, was that his name?
Yeah, that's the actor.
Wow. Yeah. Garshaw, that was the human form of Yusuf. Or the hosts.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I was thinking. I don't know. But yeah, no, I do see what you're saying. I do. I just thought, well, I guess you would have to send SG3, but if you hadn't heard from SG1, I don't know why they wouldn't have assumed maybe something went wrong. Yeah,
I mean, I assume that SG1 went through, reported back that they were safe and had made it to the planet at the very least, and then when they were taken by the Tok'ra, it wasn't yet red flag time.
Okay. And then we also get one of Daniel's birthday boxes at the end of the episode too.
Yep.
So, and we're left that Jacob / Selmak is now kind of the liaison between the Tok'ra and the Torai.
Yeah. And I love that he just steps into the role. He's like, boom, I already know everything that the Tok'ra know. I know that you want me to be the go-between, and I'm willing to do it. Let's wreck house.
Let's make this happen.
Yep.
Yep. So, just, I don't know, man. Fantastic fucking episodes. Like, really fucking good stuff. Yeah, did you have final words about any of those? Other than I think we both agree Bane was shit.
Yep.
Secrets was all right.
It was good. It was slow. It could have been 2 episodes, but I think Tok'ra definitely took the cake on this one.
Yeah, yeah. So next week, episode 12, we're looking at Spirits, Tombstone, and the Fifth Race.
Yes.
I'm guessing the Fifth Race is a good one.
Uh-huh. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, that's going to be so good, dude. I'm so pumped. And then, shit, dude, we're almost out of season 2.
Almost?
That's crazy. I can't believe how fast that went by.
Yeah. It's going to, you know what? I'm really looking forward to getting into Atlantis. So this is good. I'm happy with the progress.
So where does Atlantis hit for us, by the way? Is that like about season 5-ish?
Actually, I think it's later than that. I think it's around the start of season 8, I want to say.
Okay. Yeah, it's been so long, dude. I can't fucking remember.
Yeah, I'm pretty
when
sure
any of that kicks in.
It was the end of season 7 that we get the Lost City, and then season 8 starts, and then we're gonna do basically a week on SG-1, a week on Atlantis from then on.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's gonna be so much fun.
Yeah.
It's gonna be so good. But we appreciate you guys stopping in, checking us out again for episode 10. I hope everybody enjoyed Tok'ra as much as we did, and last week's Thor's Chariot, man.
Yeah.
Season 2 is just ramping up. So good.
If you
God.
agree or disagree, yell at us. You know, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, on ChevronLock.com, and rate us on iTunes and tell a friend.
Yeah, please. I welcome the argument. If you think the Tok'ra was shit, please, by all means, come at me.
Yeah.
You know?
Or if you think that Hook was a good movie, yell at me. I'm fine with that.
See, or we can all just agree that it was just a good, like, you're the only wrong one in this equation here. like you're going against the grain here, brother.
Listen,
It's not the
I'm
rest of
just
us.
spoiling for a fight. I just want people to talk to me. That's all. Come at me, bro.
Listen, you don't have to poke every fucking bear to get a little attention, man. You know? It's all right. Man. So, yeah, thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks again for all the downloads, all the comments. We always appreciate it. And you guys have a great night.
Bye.